Overview of security measures. Over the years, the security of our networks has continually grown to become probably the most important concept of any network design. As our networks grow, so does this concern. Because our world has become more connected, the number of threats has increased exponentially. Security is a topic that every administrator, technician, end user, and everyone has stake in and should be aware of and actively involved in implementing and practicing. In this lesson, we're going to dive into security concepts, physical and logical. Physical security is the most overlooked element of a security in a network. A simple lock can keep a curious, prying eyes out of a network closet or server room. A more layered approach can be implemented for higher security installations. However, the simple fact is, not a lot of time is spent on physically securing the network. So, in the following sections, we're going to cover the CompTIA objectives related to physical security of networks. Access control vestibule, also known as a man trap. This is a small room or small area that has two control doors. Once entered, the second door does not open until the first door is closed. This prevents tailgating and also controls traffic. Another physical security aspect is badge readers, used to protect the proof of access via RFID or a magnetic strip. This is normally connected to an access control system, which has an auditing system that tells who came in and what time they came in. Video surveillance, most common physical security method, can record what, when, and who made it happen. Now, many types of surveillance systems um, have cameras, video technologies, video analytics, license plate recognitions, and other detailed technical aspects. Alarm systems. This is the one, probably the most common type of a physical security system. Um, this system is a method of alerting personnel of unauthorized access. Uses of a variety of motion detectors, surveillance systems, magnetic contacts, and other type of sensors. Normally contracted with a monitoring company, so they can alert the authorities if something happens. And of course, part of the alarm system would be motion detectors, but there's different type of motion detectors. Again, motion detectors detect unauthorized access by monitoring movement. And again, like I said, there's two different types. There's the PIR, which is the most common use. This uses infrared radiation. And there's the microwave use type. And the microwave uses microwaves to monitor movement or vibration. And both of these are normally part of an alarm system. Door locks, most common type of security prevention. There's different types. There's a tumbler with key. You can have a combination or mechanical or electrical, different type of door locks. But now we start moving into locks for your equipment or equipment locks. These are different types of locks that really lock down our actual equipment. Now, like cable lock, that secures any device with a USB port, excuse me, a universal security slot for laptops and desktops. This is, you've probably seen them on the side of laptops that has a slot. That's a universal security slot. And it's for securing a cable around the device so that asset cannot be physically removed. Then there's also server locks, and that protects server cabinets from being open or server cases from being opening. Then we have the USB locks, locks that actually fit into the USB port, and that can physically lock out a USB port. Then we have guards, and that's probably the first thought in physical security. They're used to limit access from the outer perimeter to the inner perimeter. Normally, a guard you'll see can verify an ID badge or use a roster or a checklist. Also, guards have the capability of reporting back or handling a situation, depending on how they're issued to do that. Now, you would normally see guards in a very high sensitive government installation, high security installation. Sometimes you may even see them in high secure data centers as well, depending on the need, will depend on the layer of security. Bollards. Bollards are physical structures to keep vehicles from damaging structures. You've probably seen them before. They can be metal or concrete pillars that's surrounded like by a outcropping of a building. Or they may protect a guard station or protect an area where they're trying to protect a vehicle from physically smashing in and gaining entrance. Fences, physical barrier, keeps unauthorized out of secure areas. Now, fences can be interior, can be exterior. They can be used as a checkpoint or a choke point where it funnels traffic to a centralized location where they may go through a turnstile or may go through a portion where guards are at. But this is another type of physical security. Now, let's look at physical security items for staff, things that you may give your staff to use. Key fobs, embedded with radio frequency identification or RFIDs, used with physical access control systems. Smart cards, also sometimes they are used in the military called CAT cards, the size of a credit card with an integrated circuitry. Now, they're used for physical authentication in electronic systems, and they may require a PIN or password. Now, this can be used as another form of multi-factor authentication. And also keys. Keys are part of a physical security, but keys are probably one of the weakest links because keys are hard to control. They can get lost, they can get stolen, they can get copied. If absolutely necessary, if you need to use a key in a situation, use it as a part of a two-person system where if you had a special door that was locked by a lock and had a key to it, it required two locks simultaneously being opened by two different people. That's another secure way to do that. Biometrics, various types of biometrics. You can use a retina scanner, which uses patterns in the person's retina blood vessels. Fingerprint scanner uses patterns or a person's fingerprints to identify. Palm print scanner uses a scanning device or camera based application. Now, with this software, it processes the palm, the image of the palm, and compares it to like a stored image. One of the most easiest and really the probably one of the best things you can do for security is lighting. Um, hard lessen those hard to see areas. Put light on them. If using camera surveillance, you can use cameras with IR to see in the dark, but lighting is always best. Magnetometers, also known as metal detectors, normally used at checkpoints entering a facility. Now, these can detect weapons, knives, guns, and so forth. Now we're going to move into the area of logical security. And there's some important concepts of logical security that we should be aware of. So, first of all, starting off with the principle of least privilege. If you've never heard about this principle in security, you're going to hear a lot more of it as you go further in security. So, basically, what this means is if they're doing a special job, security concept where users should be restricted to the fewest number of privileges that they need to do their job. You don't want to give that user more privileges than what that job needs because you may have some type of security violation that may happen, or any other type of situation that may happen where they go beyond the means. Access control lists or ACLs. Now, these are used to control traffic and applications on a network. Now, normally found in routers and firewalls and other equipment. Now, each vendor may have their own special type of ACL, and the ACL is nothing but like a rule that says this can access this, but this can't. We talked about a little before multi factor authentication. Now, all authentication is based on something that you either know, something that you have, you are, you do, or the location you're in. What that means is if I have a password, that's something if I know. If I have a, a badge that gets swipes over a card reader, that's something that I have. Those are different ways of authentication. To make your security more tight or more heightened, you use multi factors. Each one of those is a factor. Um, Password is a factor. Fingerprint by itself is a factor, but if you use both, it's multi factor. So password and fingerprint are more secure, but no single factor is secure. Email. Sometimes email is used as a logical security method, and this is how you may use it. Some applications use email as a 2FA method, meaning you may get a notification if something were to happen, if something was successful or not successful, or log in. Have you ever logged into something and you may get an email that said your account was trying to be breached, but it was probably you, but had a wrong password. That's another form of logical security. Hard token. Anything that a user must have on them to access a network. This could be a one-time password where you're logging into something and the password is on the screen and it's spinning and you put in that password. It's used for one time. There's also a soft token. A soft token operates the same as a hardware token, but it's software. It's built into the computer or it's installed on a computer like an application. Um, some of the soft tokens that's out there are the Google Authenticator or the Microsoft Authenticator, and these again are soft tokens. Another form of logical security is short message service or SMM messages. Some applications will allow the use of a short message or text message as a 2FA method. A simple text is sent to a user's phone. Again, you may log into something and you may get a text message that responds back. Voice call, same as a text message, but it may be give you a 5-digit code audibly, and you would punch that 5 to 8 digit code into the application you're trying to log into. Authentication application used as a soft token. Again, the Google Authenticator, Microsoft, Authy. There's others out there that's used as an authentication type application. Now we're moving to mobile device management. Mobile devices are now used by a large part of our organization's workforce. Because of the rise of mobile devices, policies define on how they're used, the type, the connectivity, the encryption, everything about that mobile device. Mobile device management software enforces requirements of the BYOD policies, bring your own device policies. Help organizations protect data on personally owned devices, controls device connectivity, antivirus patches. Capabilities include remote wipes if lost or stolen. If that device is stolen, it can remotely wipe that device so sensitive information cannot fall into the wrong hands. Or if an employee is terminated, but that employee is not close by that device, or that device is not close by the organization, they can do a remote wipe on that. Active Directory. Now, Active Directory is a big part of our networks and our domains. So, a domain in the computer environment is a hierarchical collection of security objects, users, computers, and policies in Active Directory. Active Directory domains are named with a DNS name. Example would be cybery.com. That would be the root domain. A subdomain would be test.cybery.com. With our Active Directory domains, we have login scripts that can be used. Now, a login script can be very useful for connecting to network map drives, printers, and other admin tasks that we would normally do at login. You can do it with the script. And as soon as the user log in, that script can automatically do those administrative functions. Group policy and updates allows the ability to apply policies and control users and computers. Now, the structure of the domain is broken up in many different ways. First, you have organizational units or OU. These are group objects together to apply a set of permissions and policies to a group of users. OUs are designed to group objects based on object class, location, and function. Then you have what's called a home folder. This is the private network location for storage of a user's personal files. Folder redirection. Sometime in a domain, you have a user that logs into a system, and that entire profile is loaded on the system, and the user logs into that. Folder redirection happens when you have the folder redirects to only allow a portion of that profile to be downloaded. Another portion is in a different folder located somewhere else. Security groups allow security permissions to a group and not an individual user. This is one of the best ways to administer permissions. Now, if a user is part of a group, they'll get permissions, but if they're removed, that user loses those permissions. So this is a lot faster than giving an individual users permissions. If they're all doing part of a job, say for instance in HR, you would put them in the HR group, and they would all have certain permissions. But once that person moves on or leaves that job, they'll be removed out of that group, so they lose those permissions. Okay, in this lesson, we covered a lot of different security aspects, physical and logical, and some of things that you'll be seeing in future lessons, like Active Directory we spoke of. We talked about in the areas of logical security, the principle of least privilege, and that is a principle that you need to know as you'll be seeing more and more of that as you go further in this course and in other courses. We talked about access control lists. MFA or multi factor authentication, and the different ways of authenticating users. In our physical security, we talked about different ways of physically securing your environment that you should be aware of. That's all we have for this lesson, and I will see you in the next lesson.